You might think this video is about Chesmar Homes, all their floor plans and their features, okay, all of that. But it's actually about something far more important, whether buying with them is a smart investment or a costly mistake. Like most buyers get caught up in the brochures and the model homes, but what they don't see is the data and the hidden details. So in this video, I'm gonna give you a lot of information, a lot of objective facts, okay? Starting out with, can I even trust this builder? So we're hitting right off on one of those things you probably wouldn't have even thought to ask. Okay, so here's a little bit about Chesmar. Chesmar Homes was founded back in 2005, so they've been in the game for about 20 years now. Their footprint is strictly limited to 4 major metro regions, Houston, DFW, Austin, and San Antonio. So if you're looking outside Texas or even outside those areas, Chesmar's not even gonna be on your radar. Now, let's talk about their standing within the industry. In 2023, Chesmar ranked number 44 on the Builder 100 list, which tracks the biggest builders in the country. That year, they had 1,779 closings and about $798 million in revenue. So pretty solid numbers, but here's the twist. By 2025, they didn't even make the cut at all. So that's not necessarily a red flag, but it tells you they are not growing at the same pace as some of the larger, more aggressive builders. So how do we evaluate this information? Like, is this a builder that you can even trust? Let's break it down by asking 3 key questions, okay? First, how likely are they to be around in 5 years? Well, they've survived 2 decades and multiple market cycles, and they've established themselves in major Texas cities. So that consistency earns them points. But because they're not national and they don't have thousands upon thousands of closings every year, they don't have the same financial cushion as, for example, like a builder like D.R. Horton. All right, second, what recourse will you have if something goes wrong? Well, since they're a regional player, you're not dealing with a fly-by-night outfit, but you also don't have the scale and backing of a Fortune 500 builder. All right, third, how financially well-backed are they? Well, under 2,000 closings a year, it's respectable, but it really does put them more in like a mid-sized category, okay? That means they're stable, but they're not untouchable if the market takes a sharp turn. So overall, Chesmar has staying power, but not the deepest pockets in the industry. So if I had to put a grade on it, I would give them like a solid B+. If you were driving down the street through a Chesmar community, what would that look like? Well, you'd notice they have a nice mix of architectural styles that keep things interesting. For example, one home might catch your eye with a mix of gabled roof lines, an arched entryway, and tall windows. Another could stand out with sharp gables, a wide covered entry, and a modern front door. Then there are homes that go for a slightly bolder look, like one with a castle-like entry tower paired with arched openings and multiple peaked gables. You might also see a narrower profile where the steep gables and front-facing windows put a lot of emphasis on the front entry. Some designs stretch things out horizontally, showing a variety of roof lines and a central entry with a lot of front windows. And every once in a while, you'll come across one that leans more modern ranch with mixed roof lines, arched windows, and a clean front entry. Overall, Chesmar does a good job balancing 1-story and 2-story homes, so you're not staring at the exact same silhouette down every street. 2-car garages are the standard, but if you need extra space, they also offer 3-car options in a lot of their plans. Let's take a quick look at a model home so you can actually see what this style feels like in real life. So while you're not going to find anything jaw-dropping or ultra custom in terms of architectural variety, there's still a decent range of sizes and designs that give their communities some personality. So for that, this section I would say lands at like a solid grade of a B+. So how many options do you really have if you decide to build a Chesmar home from the ground up? Well, the first thing you get to do is select your floor plan. And that's honestly where the fun begins, right? Chesmar currently offers 165 different floor plans spread across 19 communities in the DFW area alone. So that is a lot of choice, and the variety is pretty solid when it comes to home size, layout, and whether you want 1 story or 2. Now from there, in the build process, okay, you start looking at structural customization. Now on the minor end, these are things that don't change the bones of the house, okay? So think about adding a fireplace, indoor or outdoor, swapping a standard door for sliding glass, or throwing in double doors to make a room feel like a study. You could also upgrade your master bath with a garden tub or go with an oversized shower. None of that touches the actual framing, so it's considered pretty straightforward. Moderate structural changes get a little more interesting. For example, you could turn the third bay of a tandem garage into a bedroom and bath, or maybe shrink down your master closet to give your master bath more space. Adding a bathroom off a game room or a media room is another option, and so is enlarging an outdoor living space. So these changes shift around interior framing, but they don't mess with the exterior footprint. Significant structural customization is where Chesmar falls a little short. You really don't see options like adding entire rooms, or a whole second story to a single story plan, or bumping out spaces like the dining area or the master bedroom. The only big ticket item they do offer sometimes is adding a third garage bay in some floor plans. And then we get next to what we call supreme customization, okay? Chesmar doesn't offer a true custom experience where you bring in your own plan or design a house from scratch. So you're gonna have to stick with one of their existing floor plans and then pick from the menu of options they already have built in. On the design side, the non-structural stuff like finishes, it's a little less clear. They don't post an actual catalog of choices online, but you can safely assume the usual suspects, right? Paint colors, countertops, flooring, fixtures, tile. Their website does have some blog articles with general design tips, but there's no visual inspiration galley. Like if you want to see real options, you're going to have to connect with someone directly. Now, when it comes to lot sizes, let's talk about that. Their lot sizes are pretty standard for production builders, okay? You're going to most often find like 50, 60, and 70-foot lots in their communities, with some larger homes reaching up to 90 feet. So that's enough to give you room to breathe without it feeling too cookie cutter. So overall, Chesmar gives you a decent amount of customization, especially if you're happy choosing from preset plans and making a handful of structural or design tweaks. Where they fall short compared to other builders their size or even some smaller builders is in those bigger, more significant structural changes and in the lack of strong online design resources. Like you don't get that Pinterest style gallery to fuel your imagination. So because of that, I'd give them a grade of a C+. When you're looking at a builder, the warranty is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. I mean, it's basically your safety net, and you want to know exactly what's covered and for how long, right? Okay, so Chesmar Homes keeps things pretty straightforward here, and they fall in line with what you'll see from a lot of other mid to large builders. The coverage starts with what's called the craftsmanship warranty, which is going to last for 1 year. This covers the basics, okay? The stuff you see and touch every day, right? So things like drywall cracks, sticking doors, or flooring issues, those are all going to be included here. I mean, basically, it's your protection against little annoyances that pop up right after move-in while the house is still settling. Next up is the systems warranty, which runs for 2 years. Now, this is going to cover the behind-the-walls essentials that keep the home running smoothly, okay? Think plumbing, electrical, HVAC. The big one, though, is the structural warranty, okay? Chesmar gives you 10 years of protection here, which is the industry standard for most production builders. Now, this is the coverage you hope you never have to use, but it's important, okay? Things like the foundation, load-bearing walls, or roof framing. If any of the bones of the house fail because of how it was built, you're not going to be left holding the bag. Now, Chesmar does not manage all of this in-house. Their warranties are serviced by 210 Home Buyers Warranty. So overall, it's a solid package, Nothing flashy or out of the ordinary, but it's reliable and it covers what most buyers expect. So you're going to get peace of mind on craftsmanship for the first year, systems for the first 2, and then structure for a full decade. So that balance puts Chesmar at a grade of a B+. When you're shopping for a new home, okay, one of the first questions is, how many choices do I really have in where to buy? I mean, it's one thing to fall in love with a floor plan, right? But it doesn't mean much if that plan is only offered in one distant community. With Chesmar Homes, that's not really a problem, okay? You've actually got a good spread of options across the Metroplex. Right now, Chesmar has 19 active communities in the DFW area. As a solid number, especially compared to some Texas builders who cluster almost all of their neighborhoods in just 1 or 2 corners of the Metroplex. Chesmar's presence is a lot more balanced, okay? You've got a decent shot at finding a floor plan you like in a location that also makes sense for your commute or your lifestyle. All right, let's break it down by direction, okay? Up north, you'll find Chesmar communities in Frisco and McKinney. Okay, those are prime spots, especially if you're looking to be near big employment centers or highly rated schools. Then head south, and you've got neighborhoods in Waxahachie and Midlothian, okay? So these are both growing areas with a little more breathing room. Now, on the east side, Chesmar has homes in Mesquite and Forney, and these are great options if you want easier access to downtown Dallas. And then out west, you're gonna see them in Fort Worth and Azle. So no matter which direction you're leaning, Chesmar has at least 2 suburbs in every corner of the Metroplex, and that's something a lot of other builders can't claim. Now, the only knock, and it's a minor one, is that while they're spread out, there aren't a ton of communities in each area, okay? It's more like 1 or 2 per side instead of 3 or 4. So because of that, I would give Chesmar an A- here. And they've done a really good job of balancing coverage around DFW, but a few more locations in each quadrant, that's what it would take to push them up to a straight A. So we know how many communities Chesmar has around DFW, but the next big question is, how about volume? How many actual homes are ready for you to buy right now? Well, according to their website, Chesmar currently has 147 quick move-in homes listed. So that's a decent amount of inventory, especially for a builder that isn't one of the national giants. And this is important, all right? Because many times you are gonna find a home floor plan you like in a community you don't like. I mean, maybe the layout's perfect, but the drive to work is a nightmare. Or maybe you love the floor plan, but the school district doesn't fit your needs. So what are the odds you'll find that same home in a different community? Well, with Chesmar, the odds aren't bad at all, thanks to the way they spread their floor plans across multiple neighborhoods. Now, 147 homes is enough to give you options, but it's not so many that you'll have unlimited flexibility. You might find a specific floor plan in only 1 or 2 of those places, and if it's in a location you're not excited about, that limits your choices. But on the flip side, it does show that Chesmar has a healthy amount of product available. So overall, Chesmar's inventory puts them in a good spot, but not outstanding spot. Like, you've got choices, but it's not the deepest pool of homes compared to larger builders. So for that reason, I would grade them at a B-. So how broad is Chesmar's price range, and how many people can realistically consider them as an option? Well, the short answer, it's pretty wide, which means they're hitting buyers at multiple points in the market. At the lower end, first-time buyers or folks with smaller budgets can get into a Chesmar home in the $250,000 to $350,000 range. These homes usually show up in smaller communities or come with smaller square footage, but they're still brand new construction with the efficiency that Chesmar is known for. So that's a nice entry point. The mid-market is where Chesmar really shines. Homes starting around $350,000 up to like about $500,000 cover a wide variety of floor plans. It's going to give you more square foot and a little bit of more nicer finishes. Plus, these homes tend to sit in more desirable locations, so you're balancing both the quality of the house and the strength of the neighborhood. If you're shopping for something more premium, Chesmar also has you covered. At the upper end of their communities, you'll find homes with bigger lots, more luxury features, and larger layouts. And these are great for buyers who want space to spread out or be in highly competitive areas. To give you specifics, there are a couple of communities starting in the low 300,000s. Then on the flip side, Chesmar also has communities that push all the way up into the 1.2 million range. So that's a spread of almost $1 million between their most affordable and most expensive homes. So the most affordable community right now, you're going to find it in Bel Air Village in Sherman, while the priciest is the Grove in Frisco. So that kind of range makes Chesmar accessible to a much wider audience than many of our other builders. So when you add it all up, Chesmar's pricing flexibility earns them a grade of an A+. I mean, they are one of the few builders who can honestly say they've got something for almost everyone. Let's take a look at what actual buyers are saying about Chesmar Homes. Their reviews are surprisingly strong overall, but like any builder, of course, there are a few ups and downs worth noting. The lowest rated community right now is Summercrest in Fort Worth, which sits at a 4.0 with 12 reviews. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, they have 5 different communities holding a perfect 5.0 rating. The standout there is Karis in Crowley, which has 20 reviews, more than any of their other highly rated locations. Now let's talk specifics. One-star review paints a pretty frustrating picture. The buyer said they put down earnest money after being told they would get it back if financing fell through. Well, when that happened, they claim both the sales rep and a Chesmar VP denied the refund. They also mentioned confusion around incentives tied to using a preferred lender and frustration about promised community amenities like a dog park that didn't end up being part of the actual plan. Now, to be fair, they noted that Chesmar corrected mistakes during the build, like fixing doors and finishes that were installed wrong, and they admitted the finishes themselves were better than competitors. But the contract fine print and the lack of clarity on money definitely left them upset. On the flip side, there is a glowing 5-star review from another buyer. They said the process was seamless. Everything promised was delivered on or before schedule, and the staff walked them through each detail, and they felt like they genuinely cared about them. They emphasized the value, quality, and workmanship, mentioned their involvement in the build details, and compared Chesmar favorably to other builders their friends had used. Now, looking at the big picture, 89% of Chesmar's reviews are 4.5 stars or higher, and only 11% fall below 4.5. So with a total of 18 communities factored in, all right, that's an impressive spread for a builder of their size. So overall, Chesmar scores really well when it comes to customer feedback, earning them a grade of an A+. So just like that, we have covered the good, the bad, and the ugly of Chesmar Homes, probably more than you thought you needed to know, but exactly what you need before making a 6-figure decision. Because here's the thing, missing even one detail could be the difference between a smart investment and a costly mistake. Now, if this video helped you, all right, we've got an entire playlist of builder reviews waiting for you right here. In the meantime, this is Wendy Pinnell, your Dallas Realtor, and I'll see you there.